Breaker 19, breaker 19. All right. Yo, what's good? What's good? I forgot my. Let me see what we got here. Hold on. All right. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Gonna set this right here. That going on. Yeah. Okay. So get started. Yo, what's good, man? Yeah. So we're back, man, for our third video. You know what I'm saying? Shot the first two, so now we're on our third one. This is how I was able to find my to gain my self-esteem and find my identity, man. You know what I'm saying? So I know the previous video I began to talk about my why, right? What began what began the journey of me seeking for a sustainable self-esteem uh, uh, and or high self-esteem and my identity. Just had questions. You know what I'm saying? Just had questions of who I am, uh, my life's purpose, just life in general. Had questions on the plight of Black Americans. You know what I'm saying? Questions on the state of America as a whole. And just our place in this world, man. Globally, right? So I just had all of those questions, um, especially in a time of, you know, during that time, Obama was in office, and then at the end of his presidency, a bunch of stuff was going on, really. The plight of Black America was in question. You know what I'm saying? During that time, 2014 and on, right? Then we ended up with the pandemic. So I had all these questions, but it really generated back around 2010, 2011. You know what I'm saying? Um, and so just had all these questions, man. I was serving in this church on the deacon board. And one of the deacons, I think it was the head deacon, he shared some things about the Bible with me and how to really read it, right? Because coming into Christianity, you're taught to really, need to stop saying, to coming into Christianity, you're taught to really hone in on the New Testament, uh, learning the ministry of Christ. So you go to church and you learn how to be a good Christian. It's kind of one of those things. What would Jesus do? Right. So you're learning from an information uh, viewpoint, not a revelation viewpoint. You know what I'm saying? So So that's what was going on in that moment in time. And so not really learning how to apply it in life, um, because it was what's the word? The focus really on what to serve God is to serve in the church. You know what I'm saying? As most churches do. But this. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? This ain't about disrespecting churches and criticizing churches and anything of that nature. I'm just talking my experience, where I was and how did I begin my journey of seeking identity. So he brought it to my attention, this particular deacon. He showed me in the Old Testament, um, the Torah, right? He showed me in the Old Testament, the Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, right? So he showed me those books and he asked me a question. He said, "Hey, do you know why these books have been written this way in this particular order?" I was like, "No." He said, these books have been written that way to show man's relationship with God. I was like, "Oh, really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Let me explain." So when you have Genesis, Genesis is the book of creation, right? The book of creation, the first man, the first son, right? The first man, the first uh, physical expression of God, right? So man has been created in his image. And so ever since the fall of man, um, God's sole purpose is to restore that relationship, is to reconcile that relationship with him again. That's his sole purpose. So when you read Genesis, that's what's going on ever since the fall of man, right? Um, So when you dealing with Enoch, right? Enoch was an expression of God, right? To continue to build this world. You know what I'm saying? To fill this world. You know, when you're dealing with Cain and Abel, that's an expression of brotherly kindness. You know what I'm saying? Uh, an expression of brotherly kindness. Us being responsible for one another, you know what I'm saying, which didn't take place in the garden that Adam was responsible for Eve. You know what I'm saying? So and we'll get into that at a later time. So so the brothers was responsible for one another, you know what I'm saying? Um, which didn't play out well. So now then you get into Enoch, an expression of God, build, expanding, right? That's what his life was about, an expression of God. Then when you get into Noah, you know what I'm saying? An expression of God. You know what I'm saying? Expression of God of working with God, continue building, right? Building, being a bridge, bring a bridge from one era to an old era to a new era, being a bridge. Then you get into Abraham. You see what I'm saying? Abraham, being a father. You know what I'm saying? Is an expression of God yearning for a son. I'm telling y'all, this is crazy, man. God's yearning for a son. You know what I'm saying? It's yearning to have his expression in this earthly realm. This earth wasn't made for him. This earth was made for us. This earth was made for us, for God to see his glory, to fill this earth with his glory of his people. You see what I'm saying? And so when we get into the Torah, so we talk about Genesis, so all throughout Genesis, that's God is doing. So he's raising kings, he's raising godly men, godlike qualities. You know what I'm saying? So when you read Genesis, when his relationship with these men, his relationship with Abraham, you know what I'm saying? He's calling him friend. They literally um, eating together. You know what I'm saying? Breaking bread together. He's calling him friend. You know what I'm saying? So even going to Joseph, you know what I'm saying? A person that was displaced. and even to the point of slavery. You know what I'm saying? And in the midst of that, kept his identity. He kept his identity, and it was his identity that elevated him up. That identity is the promise. The identity is the promise. The identity is the treasure. It's not anything monetarily, it's not anything externally that will bring fulfillment. It is our identity. That's the prize. And so with that, he was able to uphold it, you know what I'm saying, through tumultuous times, and God had to honor that. God had to honor that. You see what I'm saying? So even with that, his identity was an expression of God. And so then we get to a period of time in Genesis where the people forgot about God. So the relationship um had fallen, had deteriorated. You see what I'm saying? And so that's where I come in at about myself. You know what I'm saying? You know, being in Christianity and learning to be a good person, and learning to follow, right, um these laws, you know what I'm saying? Learning to follow these principles, but not quite understanding completely why. You know, so this how it correlates with the Torah. So then when you get to the end of Genesis, the relationship with God deteriorates. So he sends another person, Moses, a king, you know what I'm saying, to come in, a savior, to come in, save the people, you know what I'm saying, so that the relationship can be reconciled, you know. Um, uh, However, you know, the promises of God wasn't the people's desire. The people just wanted to be free. They just was tired of the burden that was placed upon them. That's why they was crying out. They was tired of the burden that was placed upon them. They was tired of the oppression that was placed upon them. But they didn't want the promise. They didn't want the promise. They just wanted that burden to be lifted. That's all. So when you read, so when you read those books, you know what I'm saying, you will continue to see, you know what I'm saying, their attitudes towards God. They never wanted God. They just wanted the burden to be taken away. They never wanted God. They never wanted to enter into God's rest. They never wanted prosperity. They never wanted restoration. They just wanted, they didn't even know they needed restoration. They just wanted the burden to be taken away. That's it. And so it showed once when they left Egypt with all of Egypt's possessions and everything, and you know, all their possessions, the gold, the silver and the cattle and everything. And the moment when they got settled, and there was a moment of peace, right, and isolation. They went awry, man. They went crazy, man. They started, you know what I'm saying, just living, just doing whatever came to mind for pleasure, man. Anything they was doing, you know what I'm saying? And so how did that pertains to me? You know, coming to Christianity, you know, I didn't know my purpose. I know I needed God. I didn't know my purpose. Like I knew, okay, to follow the ways of Christ, but what does that even mean? How do I even do that? You know what I'm saying? Um, these what would Jesus do moments. You know what I'm saying? And so I knew, you know what I'm saying, what it means to be a man is to, provide for his family. You know what I'm saying? So, keeping your word. You know what I'm saying? I knew those things, man, but where does that lead me? Where does that lead me? Where does that lead my family? Where does that lead um especially during the time of everything that was going on. So I'm trying to live this good life, right? I'm trying to live this good life of a Christian, right? Trying to provide for my family. You know what I'm saying? Going to church regularly, serving in the church. But I see all this other stuff that's going on with my people. I'm seeing the persecution. I'm seeing the injustices. I'm seeing the wrongful deaths. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing all of these things. I'm like, hold on. What are we doing, bro? Like, I know we're in here, you know what I'm saying, worshiping, and we're here shouting, and we're here hooting and hollering. You know what I'm saying? But out there, it's madness, man. It's madness. What are we doing? How can we hoot and holler and shout when out there is madness? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is Obama doing about it? Where's our where's our leaders? You know what I'm saying? Yo, I see marches and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But what does that do? Especially in a time like this, in an age like this. I mean, it may work back in the 60s. You know what I'm saying? But that's not going to work now. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because it's too much technology. It's too much advancement. It's too much money going around. So that ain't going to work now. What are we doing? So all that played a toll on my self-esteem, man. Like I know I'm here for more. I know I'm here to make a great impact. I know I'm just not here to pay bills, man. And I know I'm not just not here just to accumulate, you know what I'm saying? Or just not here to live my best life. Like it's folks out there hurting, man. Like we're hurting as a people. Like we got thoughts and you know what I'm saying? And hip hop has changed, man. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy how the culture just is going crazy. Like what are we doing? What's happening? Things coming out about you know what I'm saying? Stuff happening in the pulpits and everything. You know what I'm saying? Like people that you really looked up to and thought was representatives. You know what I'm saying? Of morality and righteousness, but turn out, man, when that veil gets pulled back, it's crazy. What are we doing, man? Why didn't we have another black man run for president? You know what I'm saying? Like, why was that the only time, or not the only time, but the last time? Like, shouldn't 100 more black men be running for president after they see Obama became president? Why don't we have any more black men running for governors and mayors and you know legislative seats? Like, we want change, but what kind of change do we really want? So all this stuff is going through my mind and taking a toll on my self-esteem. You know what I'm saying? Um, so, so in doing that, I had to go back and read these scriptures, man, and I began to see, man, how the mentality that the people had was the mentality they built being in Egypt as slaves, always being told what to do, looking for somebody to save them. You see what I'm saying? A service mentality, being told what to do, a worker's mentality. You see what I'm saying? And so looking at that and see what comes with that, the burden that comes with that, right? They didn't want relationship with God. So the burden that was placed on them, you see what I'm saying? From that, right? Um, uh, uh, um, really took a toll on the people, which that they weren't even able to enter into God's promise. They wasn't even able to enter into God's rest. They were able to really experience God personally. They wasn't able to be restored. You see what I'm saying? Because restoration is relational. Restoration is relational. So they wasn't able to be restored as individuals and as a people, as a nation. You see what I'm saying? God had to usher in a new generation of people that didn't know anything of Egypt, had no connection with Egypt or anything of Egypt. People that wanted more, people that wanted better. You see what I'm saying? They were able to enter into God's promises. But even though they was able to enter to God's promise, they still didn't enter to God's rest. And that's what I want to talk about. You see what I'm saying? A lot of us, we want God's promises, but we don't want God's rest. God's rest comes from our divine nature or divine order. And our divine order comes from our divine nature. So now I see, you know what I'm saying? And in order to experience that, you know what I'm saying? You must come from a child's mentality to a son's mentality. So when we read the Old Testament, we're dealing with Genesis, that's what God is raising sons. Sons. Sons become fathers. You know, so these are expressions of God. He's raising sons and kings, right? Even to we fast forward to the New Testament with Christ, his son. This is my beloved son. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, so that whosoever shall believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. He sent his son into the world not to condemn the world, but that through him the world is saved. So that we're gonna end there. We're gonna end there. Restoration is relational. You cannot be restored off information or just by reading the book. You can only be restored through relationship. So it's not equality that we need. It's not reformation that we need. We need restoration. So we're going to end there. I appreciate y'all, man. I love y'all. Look out for the next video tomorrow. This is Ended Well right here. So y'all have a great day, and I'll holler at y'all tomorrow. We're going to continue to unfold this, unlock this, and I'm continue to share my journey to restoration. I love y'all.